This is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
Your host, Sethi.
And Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we? All right, guys, so welcome to our fourth episode of the Elevated Grapes Podcast. I can't even say our own name properly. And we have a special guest with us this evening as well. It's Paul. So Paul,
hello.
Yeah, Paul's with, he's the COO of, am I allowed to say the company name?
Sure.
Okay, of the CFO Center.
Yes.
He'll kind of give you some background on what they do. So he's an executive, works sort of in the financial district with a lot of folks in the corporate world. And I do a lot of work with Paul, and what I found is that he has a very unique, really interesting sense of style for the corporate world, and it works really well with the corporate world, and it's sort of not what you generally expect from the way an executive dresses. So really nice to see his fresh take on it. So we're going to get him to talk about that a little bit. But Paul, give us a little bit of an introduction on yourself, and I guess we could start with the company a little bit.
Sure.
Give it a little plug.
Yeah. CFO Center. So my background, mostly in management consulting my whole career. Been working with the CFO Center for 5 years now. The very simple premise is we provide part-time or interim CFOs to small growing companies. So people that don't want to spend a full-time salary for a CFO, don't have that kind of work, but want someone of that caliber will drop in a CFO 1 day a week to help them continue to grow their business.
Awesome. And so now you guys are across Canada.
We are. We're actually globally. We're in 17 countries around the world. We have
amazing.
500 CFOs on our team. In Canada, we have 60 CFOs on our team.
And you've been with them for
5 years now.
Awesome. Yeah. So Paul's been really instrumental in growing that, and I've got to see some of that working side by side with him in the corporate world. You brought us to sort of, I guess, from my understanding, your second home, the Wine Academy. So that's what we're
Sure.
recording at it today.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about this place.
Yeah, you asked me to come into my home, and I thought this was a better place.
Absolutely.
Drinking wine is a fun little side passion, right? So probably as many people, I started in the good old days of drinking a lot of vodka, and then tried to grow up and started drinking a lot more wine. And the Wine Academy is perfect.
Yeah.
You get to store your wine here. You get to come. It's a great environment. As you can see, it's a great place. You can have dinner here, and you get to bring your own wine.
Which is
And
perfect.
it's
That's
like
amazing.
no corkage. It's you drink what you want, and you put it back into your locker. If you're not done it, you can finish it the next day. It's just a perfect place to come hang out with friends.
And 24/7 access.
Exactly.
So
That's key.
Why don't you tell us about the wine that we're drinking today? Oh, and just for the record, I have lost my voice, which is why I sound even sexier than like normal. But this is why I sound like this time.
We're going to keep Rashi's talking to a minimum today.
I was like even more sexual.
Even more,
than
yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I can make no comments. First time I've heard her voice.
We're staying away from that conversation.
There you go.
So
the
tell us about
wine.
the wine.
The wine.
The wine.
This is a French wine, a Côte d'Aron from Guijal. It's a great winery that I know a little bit, trying to learn more about it. But they have wines that range from fairly reasonable to the most ridiculously expensive. So we figured we start out somewhere, and it's a nice, easygoing red wine that goes down like water for some people.
I've heard that a couple of times today while we were setting up.
There's some
Very
gulping,
funny.
some gulping of wine going on. But yeah, it's just perfect when you don't need food with it. It's just really easy, not too sweet, and I really like it.
So the name Elevated Grapes actually stems from wine. No pun in any of that in that statement. So tell us about like some of your thoughts on your favorite types of wines. I know obviously you've shared this one with us, which is awesome.
Yeah, I like a lot of different types of wine. I don't really discriminate. I will drink
I
wine
like
from
that.
everywhere in the world, but a lot of the wine I drink nowadays is either French or Italian.
Interesting.
So on the red side especially. So been to Italy a couple times. Was just in Rome last month, and just drinking all the different wine that you can get there, right? So there's just the opportunity to drink so much more wine that you can't even find at the LCBO.
Right.
So it's just...
Which is the best part of some of those trips,
It's
getting to try those different wines.
Exactly. And it's not like, oh, this high-end, super expensive wine. It is their table wine. It's
Yeah.
the wine that they don't want to bottle and they don't want to sell to people. It's amazing. So drank a lot of that. So that the Tuscany region is a lot of the wine I drink, but learning more about Piedmont and then going into France as well. There's just too much wine in the world, right? So for me, it's continuing to explore and learn.
And it's a learning experience because everything has such a different sort of taste and background and how they make it and what's involved with sort of the process behind it. It's quite intricate.
Yeah, like when you actually go to the vineyard and you meet the winemaker, it's just like a super cool story, right? So the first time we went to Italy, we brought back a couple bottles of wine because we met the winemaker, and he introduced us to his family. He told us his whole story, you know, about his parents and how the vineyard first started. It's just such a cool experience. So now we've been saving those bottles for a long time. When we do open them, there's an amazing story and an experience that goes with that.
Talk to me a little bit about the some of the styles and fashion you saw there in Rome. It's gotta be unique and different from here too.
He's like jumping into it. Basically.
Italy is totally different than here, right?
Yeah.
Like the fashion sense, I love it, right? It's just people have a sense of style and they care about their style a lot more. And I feel like we get a lot more lazy in North America where we don't really care about how we dress or how we look sometimes. But in Italy, everyone every day dressed up to the nines.
Yeah.
So that fashion game is totally different.
It's at a different level.
Yeah.
What were some of the, if you could pinpoint a couple of key differences from not just like the fact that they actually dress up and care about dressing up, but in terms of style? Like, is there something you saw that was like, that'd be cool because we don't see that in North America very often?
It's not that we don't see. I think it shows up a few years later.
Right.
So
That's
like,
true,
it's as simple as like men weren't wearing socks like 5 years ago there, and all of a sudden that's normal
now
here
it's a
now,
normal
right?
big thing here. Yeah.
You know, they were wearing like powder blue pants like 10 years ago, right? And finally we're doing that here.
Yes.
Right. So I think a lot of those styles we're getting to them eventually. It's just they originate there. So for me, is when I go there, I'm just always looking around. It's like, oh, what are other people doing now? What is today's trend that will, you know, show up in a few years in Toronto?
But like, do you find that despite us having so much like global access to what is going on in the world, that we would be a lot faster in North America in terms of catching on the trends from like Europe? Because this is not the first time someone said this, and this has been a statement that's been like repeated even years back, that we are still very behind. But if you look at how fast we are like evolving because of social media and because of like all the networking that we can do around the world and the changes in like technology, don't you feel that we should be able to be at that same pace as like Europe right now? Or like from your understanding, what is still like
What's holding us back?
Yeah.
Because we can. You're right. Technology is there. People are watching runway shows, you know, in Milan and in Paris, you know, here live. So we can go buy the same things. We can go see the same styles, but we don't, right? And I don't know why. I think people in North America and in Toronto aren't as fashion forward. Right. Like there are definitely trendsetters in the city. There's people that will dress that style. But when it catches on, when a lot more people are doing it, when it becomes a little more mainstream, that takes a lot longer, right? Because I think we're a little more conservative. You know, Canada, even compared to the U.S., we're known to be a very conservative kind of community. So we won't be as aggressive with our style. We won't be as fashion forward. But I think slowly it's changing, right? Maybe it was like 5-10 years, you know, a long time ago. Now it's like, oh, in 3 years it'll get here, or in 2 years it'll get here. So we're getting faster, but there's still a gap. There's definitely still a delay.
Is there specific designers that you like to follow, or that sort of influence your style and your fashion sense?
A few. I would say, like, if I look at like certain components of my wardrobe, there's certain parts that, like, for me, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't need to be a brand. It doesn't need to be a label. But when I do get other types of pieces, like suits or something like that, I tend to lean towards certain designers. Probably more for fit as well as style. But like Ted Baker, Tiger of Sweden, those are brands that I probably tend to more often than not. Whereas years ago I would look at, you know, you walk into Harry Rosen and you're like, okay, what should I be looking at? And you get all excited about these high-end brands and you're like, oh, Tom Ford, what does that look like now? And, you know, and Brioni, what is that? And I was like, wow, I can't afford that. So what else is there in the market that I'm willing to pay, and how what I style that I want to look like? So we're going to, you know, there's a store called Got Style that really carries a lot of lesser known brands.
They do.
Super cool shop, you know, and you can go in there and just get, even if you're not buying certain brands, you can get concepts and ideas and inspiration on what style you want, and then you can kind of go and put that together from any store.
So you touched on something right there where you said, you know, you couldn't really afford it. So talk to me about your thoughts on sort of price points or brand name versus the quality and the cut and the style you can get out of it.
I challenge myself on that all the time. Where it's in some cases certain things I will want to spend more, but more often than not, with fast fashion nowadays and all that, it doesn't make sense. So if you're churning through your wardrobe pretty regularly, I don't feel that it makes a ton of sense to spend a lot of money, but there are key pieces that will transcend time. And I think maybe something we'll kind of come back to later is more around getting your own sense of style versus following fashion.
Of course.
And that you'll start to buy pieces that make sense for you as opposed to what's trendy, what's of this season. So for me, around price points, it's such a variable, right? So if I think about even what I'm wearing today, I put a little bit of thought into before coming here. Like I shop at Zara for certain types of things. I'll go to like Winners and Marshalls, and I will go and look through different things, right? But then I will want to go to Harry Rosen once in a while, and I will want to go to other nicer shops and to see what they have and what I can pick up as well, right? So there's kind of like basics where you don't need to spend a lot of money. There's a little edgier pieces that probably won't last more than a couple seasons, and then there's things that are just timeless. Right.
So what is, in your eyes, what are some of the staples that you feel are the type of items a guy should spend money on to have in their closet as sort of those timeless pieces? What would you do? You don't have to speak for everybody else, but in your
what
should
wardrobe, guys do? I don't know.
In your wardrobe, what is that?
Yeah, for me, I think a couple things that I always want to have, like spend a little bit more money on or have like that right look. A blazer goes a long way. And it does come in and out of style. I would say for the past 5-10 years, it's been kind of like every guy in Toronto has a blazer. And the problem is when you go out in King Street, every single guy is wearing a blazer. So I'm starting to tend away from that. When you're going out to the, I'm too old to go to the club, so I'm trying to even stay away from that. But that shouldn't be the thing. But like in a work context, having a nice blazer that fits you really, really well is so important. And to me, fit trumps quality. Right, so if I had to order it, I want something that fits really well first. Quality then comes second, and then the kind of, to me, the price point matters even less, or the brand matters even less.
And that's something I think we've been stressing on every episode that like we've been doing so far is that men do need to realize it's not about the brand name anymore, and I find that's changing slowly, just from a female like a female point of view. We really care about how you overall look. So your clothes have to fit you. Yeah. It's not about whether you are a flamboyant dresser or not. It's about the fact that if you look like you're like, hanging in your blazer, like it's not gonna fly.
I don't care how expensive it is.
Exactly. But I still feel there's so much brand association with men as opposed to women, even though women are known to spend a lot, of course, and want to go crazy.
Well, there's brand association with shoes and purses for women.
Exactly. But I'm starting to see that even with like guys, they still want to start associating themselves a lot with brands, and sometimes there's just no fit. Right. So I'm kind of hoping that changes, because like sometimes like guys really.
Well, but if you think about it, so this comes with age as well, right? So when we were a lot younger, like when I was in high school, I wanted to have a T-shirt that said Tommy Hilfiger on it. Like, why?
Written nice and big.
Exactly, as big as possible, so everyone knows that it's a knockoff Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Knockoff. But why did that matter, right? Like, but you're at a different stage in life. You're trying to fit in. You're trying to be a part of a certain crowd. You're trying to be like everyone else. As you start to gain your own sense of style and fashion, you're starting to differentiate as opposed to trying to fit in. Right, so you can start to do different things. Some people can.
Exactly. I think the key word here is for some people, because I mean, I do not know high school kids at this point, right? So all the men that I know are like in their 30s. Some of them are like in their 40s. And they still have that mentality where it's like, it's about the brand, it's about being cool, it's about like, it's about fitting into a crowd versus standing out. And in your head, you are just like, dude, you're like a grown man. Like, what are you wearing? Like, what is wrong with you?
But so maybe like, let me clarify. It's not about standing out necessarily, because some guys just don't want to stand out.
No, it's not
right?
about standing out.
There's guys that are like, they want to peacock and they want to be the guy in the room that everyone looks at, and there's other guys who just want to look good, right? And I think that's more important, is to look good. So wear things that fit you, wear things that match the season, the style, where you are, what you're doing, and I think that's more important, right? And we'll probably talk about this later in terms of what you wear at work versus what you wear when you go out.
Right.
But there's so many components of a wardrobe, but it should change, right? And a lot of guys don't figure that part out, and that's the challenge.
That's a big piece of the puzzle.
Do you feel that men don't want to, they don't want to figure that out because it's still too feminine of a thing, or what is the, why? But at the same time, when I start having these fashion conversations with so many people in the industry, everybody is talking about we still need more men's stylists out there. We still need fashion for men. So if from an industry point of view, if we can bring bring that in, why do we still have men who are shying away from taking the time to break down their wardrobe and saying that, okay, I need this type of watch to go with what I'm wearing, and taking that extra time without making it a very feminine thing? That's really not, right?
Take the time when you're picking a watch. That was good. So no, you're right there.
Everyone's about the puns today.
You're right. I think there's two parts. You said it. There's this component of it being metrosexual, and a lot of people don't like that. But it's a lot of time and effort. And a lot of guys want to be ready in 5 minutes in the morning. They don't care to spend the extra time. They don't want to spend the extra time, or they don't think they should, right? Whereas I think that, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, when you're going out into the world, you're representing yourself. You are a brand. You are selling yourself, no matter what scenario you're in. Why don't you put your best foot forward, right? Why don't you?
I'm so happy you just said that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because every person is a brand to themselves.
Yeah.
And how that's your first forte into your brand is when you walk into the room. That first 3 seconds.
That first impression matters a lot. You don't even open your mouth yet. People are already judging you. Right?
Absolutely.
So why don't you?
Especially
take
in
that?
the corporate world.
Oh, exactly.
Right. Like you and I will walk into meetings, and off the top, you know right away that everyone's assessing you as soon as you walk into the room.
100%. Oh, I walked in a meeting today, and a guy looked at me. He looked up and down.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take my blazer off now because he's definitely not appreciating this. Right? So, but because you have to adapt. Like for me, it's more about being a chameleon.
Absolutely.
Like, part of my role is sales. So when I'm trying to engage with someone, I want to engage on their level. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't want to dress way above them or way below them. Right? I want to dress at a certain point where they're comfortable with me, but they also say, okay, this is someone I do want to talk to. Right? So have that appeal as opposed to, this is someone who doesn't know how to dress, doesn't have good style, doesn't have good clothes on. I think it's super important to present yourself in a certain way that at minimum might just start a conversation. Right? You're there, and someone's going to be like, oh, I really like that shirt, or that, your cufflinks, or
It's
your
an
watch.
icebreaker.
There's some sort of icebreaker there that people can engage with. Right? So when you're going out to these big networking events, when there's like 200-300 people in a room, and you're supposed to go get a bunch of business cards, how do you do that? Well, it's not that full peacocking by about having something crazy on, but present yourself in a certain way that people want to come talk to you.
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about we're going to talk about sort of the day wear and the evening wear in a corporate environment. What's sort of your thought process around that, like in terms of day wear for the corporate world? Like how do you come up with the ideas and styles that you wear in your wardrobe? Because they are different. I'm going to pinpoint a little bit more slowly, but I want to leave it general first.
It's a tough question because I don't have a good answer to that. I know I enjoy it though, which is why I'll spend the time doing it.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think I'm so used to it that it doesn't actually take me that much time. I could probably get ready pretty quickly, but I just know to pull together a couple more pieces.
Yes.
Right. But I don't have standard outfits.
Right.
Like every morning I'm like, oh, what shirt, what pants, what blazer, what pocket square, what all these things. But I know that I want all those components. Right. So 90% of the time, I call it my work uniform, right? I will have a blazer on. I will likely have a pair of jeans on. And then there's a bunch of variables in between. Like I will spend the time to find the socks that go with that outfit. I will make sure the right shoes are being worn and the right watch is being kind of, accessorized.
So one of the things that I noticed with you is that in the corporate world, you wear jeans regularly.
Yeah.
So how do you find that fits A, with the corporate world today, and B, how did you find that in terms of transitioning and dressing to that sort of style?
No, you're right. I do wear jeans all the time, and I've pushed it a little bit, and I know when I push my boundary a little too far, I will go back to a suit once in a while. But I think there's my answer is a couple things. It all depends on what your work environment is like, right? If I worked at an old school, top Bay Street law firm, I would still have to wear a suit and tie every day.
Right.
And I'd be okay with that. I remember saying a long time ago to one of my friends, I think I'd love to work in that environment for a while. I think that would be fun, right? I don't think a lot of other people think that's fun, but I would.
Because you get to dress up every day.
Exactly. It's playing dress up. I'm
Absolutely.
like, no, I would enjoy that, Right? It's giving me an excuse to go buy more suits. But in my work environment, I'm dealing with a lot of business owners. They're mostly dressed fairly casual. They're not wearing suits, right? In the banking world, I deal with a lot of bankers and accountants. Some of them are wearing suits. Most of them don't wear a tie. A lot of them are more often than not wearing a blazer and slacks or dress pants.
Yeah.
I've pushed it to say no, jeans are just as acceptable, with a big caveat beside that saying the right type of jeans.
The right type,
Right.
100%. So talk to us about that. What's the right type of jean in the corporate world?
Fitted is the first big component, right? So
Yeah.
we would go back to what we were saying before. Fit is more important than anything else, right? So it's not about the brand. There shouldn't be huge logos on the back pockets, but it should fit you really well.
What about the seams? What about this, those nice big dark seams going down the leg?
You should not be able to see bright stitching all down your pants, right?
Right.
But like you want to have something that fits you. Typically, I would say dark jeans are probably better than very light jeans. You don't want a ton of wash or fading on it. But it depends on the environment, right? Like I work out of a WeWork space as well, where it's like everyone looks at me because I'm the guy wearing the blazer, and they're like, "Who are you? And who do you think you are?" Versus everyone else's jeans and a hoodie, right?
Right.
So you have to dress appropriate to your work environment. I've kind of pushed my limits a bit, but I think it's not jeans because you're dressed so casually. It's wow, look at how you're dressed in jeans, right? So for me, I present quite professionally. Even still, I'm wearing
You're wearing
a pair of jeans.
And I actually like that because I've been in environments where there's like a bunch of guys, you know, like you said, jeans, hoodie, or like t-shirts, like, oh, because it's summer, because it's just casual and all that stuff.
Yeah, casual Fridays.
Exactly. And then you see this guy walking, like he has jeans on, he will have a nice fitted shirt and a blazer on, and you just like stop and you stare.
You're talking about Sagar.
Oh God, no.
That's what I heard.
Sorry, dude. But from
Thank
a female point of view,
Mm-hmm.
like women, we like to see well-dressed men,
Of
and
course.
I do not like. I always keep like stressing that because just like how guys want well-dressed women around
100%.
them,
It goes both ways.
we want that too. So, and I actually do not like it when I'm like in a work environment and a guy shows up in like, you know, faded jeans and like a t-shirt with like a bunch of things on. I was like, dude, like, please leave.
Well, it's sloppy.
Like, I don't want to talk to you, and I will actually not talk to you. So,
Well, and you're right. It confuses me too.
There's no opinions there whatsoever.
what do you mean? What do you mean?
You want guys to look good and put time and effort into their looks and appearance.
Exactly.
The same way we want women to do that, right? We always want to, you know, I want to present myself in the best way with the way I expect other people to present themselves as well.
Right.
And in the work environment, if we're going back to work, you know, it confuses me even more, especially if guy, girl, doesn't matter. If you're single, why, like, you know, you're presenting
But
yourself in a way.
It's not even about being single, right? Like, it's not about whether you are single or you're like dating someone. Even when you're like in a relationship, that's no excuse to go out and, you know, have your partner dress like a homeless person. Like, absolutely not. You want your partner to look good because
Exactly.
you guys are going out and you guys are like representing each other. And most importantly, it's a matter of like respect. If you're taking the time to dress well for yourself and your partner, you're showing that you are important to them in their own way, right? And that stuff. If you're single, by more so, you need to look good. Like, if not, then you complain, oh, this guy doesn't like me, this girl doesn't like me. Well, look at yourself in the mirror, you bum. Like, what do you expect?
A lot of bums.
I'm getting some amazing sound bites that I'm going to be using for our promo later. Look at yourself in the mirror, you bum.
Exactly. Hopefully she doesn't say that to people directly. But
She actually does.
Yeah,
just you.
I actually have.
But that's the thing. You're right. When I'm going out with my wife, I want her to dress up, but I want to dress up as well. Like it's respect for each other, because it's like, yeah, I'm willing to spend the time and effort to look good when I'm going out with you.
Right, absolutely.
So that's super important.
So talk to us a little bit about, because we mentioned this earlier, you know, people think that it takes a lot of time to dress well, or maybe it's a laziness factor, like, oh, well, I don't want to think about it. From the time when you sort of first started getting into the idea of, okay, well, I want to change the way I dress and I want to, you know, be a little more fashion forward, to now, how much more difficult was it back then when you were first starting out versus now when you've actually built your closet a little bit and built your pieces that you can throw together?
It's hard for me to answer because I've always liked style, right? Like for me, it's not like I always dress like this. That's a very different thing.
Right.
I always liked style. Back
Style
when I
comes
was
in different ways.
back when I was high school, that was like, oh, we all wore bell bottoms, and that was the
Right.
style of then, right? But like you always wanted
I
to go
want to
with
see you. I
style.
want to see you in bell bottoms at the next
Wow.
meeting.
Oh,
At our next meeting, you're wearing
extra
bell bottoms.
baggy. Yeah. It's come back for Halloween a couple times. No other time. But that's I think you get more and more used to it for sure. Like, but even without the pieces, I think you do need to go shopping, get a few pieces so it's easy.
Yes.
Like I know there's people that have like 5 shirts and they wear Monday to Friday. They have 5 different shirts they're going to wear, right? So you can overly simplify to still maintain that look, right? To keep it easy for yourself, you're like, hey, here's the shirts I have, here's the pants that go with them, here's the blazers I'm going to wear. So you can spend the time, and if you don't want to do that yourself, ask a friend to help you. Of course, there's stylists in stores
Like
or a
this
stylist that you
person
can
here,
get.
always like
there's-
hire him to like help you out.
You can get Sagar to come help you, right? Like I think he will help you look through your wardrobe and figure out what you should be wearing and what
And
you should be
toss,
throwing out.
and he will probably toss half of it out as well.
And that's okay.
I guarantee you that.
Most people have too many
100%.
clothes in their
Yeah.
closet, right?
So one of the really cool things I like what you do, and this is one of the areas I wanted to get pinpointed in.
Mhm.
You found a way to balance in a floral shirt into the corporate world during the day, which is not easy to do, and you pull it off quite well. So what was sort of the thought? Like, how did that how did that come about in your wardrobe? How did you conceptualize that to say, I'm going to throw in a floral shirt in the day and it's going to work? Because a lot of people would think that it's not easy to do.
I think I got bored with stripes, and I got bored with solid colors like a long time ago. I think I have very few solid color shirts in my wardrobe. Like I actually get challenged when someone's like, "Oh, well, you need to wear like a black shirt." I was like, "Oh, I don't think I have one."
Yeah.
Right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've kept away from kind of those like overly basics, right? My basics look a little different. But to your point, I really got bored. Like stripes just weren't cutting it anymore, and the shirts I started buying, and probably when I first bought them, it was like, oh, this is for like when I go out, or this is like non-work outfits. And then my wardrobe just started blending quite a bit. I don't really have a strong distinction of what I can wear at work and what I can't wear at work. There's a few things, right, that get overly casual, and yes, but I like floral shirts, I like paisleys, I like all those things. And it started with like, most guys have always had like a paisley tie, but that was the extension of how expressive they're going to get, right? It was like, oh wow, look at me, I'm wearing this crazy tie. So to me, it's like, well, what's the difference? Put on a shirt, it looks really good. Again, if it fits you, it doesn't have to be overly colorful, overly dramatic. It just needs to be something that is representative of you and your style. I think probably started it with more muted tones, and then over the years, it got more and more.
So one of the things I noticed also with you is you like to play a lot with textures in your blazers. Like it's not your typical sort of wool fabric blazer or like even a cotton. Like you will get into like very close to like a linenish fabric sometimes. And this won't be just a summertime. Like you'll wear it in other seasons as well.
Yeah.
The colors I know you work a bit with the seasons, but or like I've seen you wear like almost like not even like a jogger material, but it's like that softer material.
Yep.
And you'll dress it up with whatever the rest of the outfit is. So talk to us about like how that came to like this is cool for daytime corporate.
Yeah. And I think it's what you pair it with, right? So you can take one item, and that one item for me first was a pair of jeans. So that's a little more casual. How do I dress everything else up? And then it went to like, okay, I'm wearing a floral shirt, but how does everything else look? So it's all that balance, right? So people look at you as your total outfit, not just like, oh, that
one
piece
piece
is too casual, right? They'll appreciate a piece, but they won't be like, oh, that's too casual, right? So you can start to play with different things. And you're right, I like a lot of different fabrics and different textures.
Yeah.
So I'm going to constantly be playing with that. So when I'm buying a wardrobe, or especially when I'm buying blazers, for me, I don't want a basic blue blazer, or you know what I mean? I want something with a little bit of texture, with a little bit of color variation, or something else that's going to be a little more exciting. For a handful of reasons. One, that's just a style I like. I don't want to be overly boring. But once you already have those pieces in your wardrobe, what do you do next?
And I think like to your point, see, like from a stylist point of view, we just have the mindset to break every piece down and then see it all as one. So anyway, so as I was saying, as a stylist, we like break all those pieces down. But then people who cannot view the whole look, right? How do we help them kind of, and we kind of like convince them to basically saying that it's okay to have a casual piece. It's like okay to have this piece and then put it all together from your, because you don't need a stylist clearly. So
A stylist can help anyone. I would say sure.
so
It's always going to be other ideas.
from your perspective, let's say if a person's like, well, I cannot afford a stylist.
Sure.
How do you, like, what is your tips and advice to help them kind of understand that you can have the casual pieces and the formal pieces, and it's all about viewing that entire look together?
Yeah, that was a lot of question. I think, what do you say to someone who doesn't want a stylist? Get a stylist. No, I
Absolutely,
think
get a stylist.
Yes, hire him.
the simple way to start thinking about it, because the people that work in the stores are kind of like junior stylists. Like the reason they're working there is because they like what they do, they like style. So you can start chatting with them about different pieces, how things pair together. I think that's one of the first components where it's, okay, don't look at things in isolation. How do they pair with other pieces? So if you need help putting outfits together, ask someone at the shop. Like buy outfits at a time. Don't buy, oh, I like this shirt. Be like, okay, what am I going to wear with it? And think about the belt, the socks, the pants, the blazer, the pocket square, and start to buy that way. But then once you get more used to it, then you can start mixing and matching. Right? But start with outfits, right? It's the easiest way to do it. So in the morning, if you're too lazy or don't have time or don't want to think about it, you don't have to, because you know you've already bought full outfit pieces.
Well, I also think nowadays, especially with like your access to, we spoke about earlier, your access to Instagram, your access to Pinterest, your access to just online magazines.
Yeah.
And honestly, like just walk up to a store and look at a mannequin.
Right. You can get so many ideas.
It'll
It's
give
so
you
easy.
it'll just give you some of the basic ideas. What are some of the basics? Because you said your basics are different than most of the guys. What are some of the what are your recommendations on some basics that every guy should have? Because we did a show about basics, and I wanted, and it's always good to get a different perspective on it.
I didn't see that show yet, so I don't know what they said.
That's okay.
I think we like only ended up with shorts because somehow the conversation went to shorts and long shorts and all that stuff.
No, our first podcast where we just did straight basics.
Oh, that's also true.
Yeah.
Because it depends, right? So, and this is why I think it's even further challenging, because it depends on what you want your style to be. Some of it depends on your body shape and your size. Some of it depends on your work environment or your going out environment as well, and where you're trying to use these outfits. But for me, like a basic is this light blue blazer. This is a basic. Like I want to have a light blue blazer in my closet.
I think I have 3 of them.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Everyone will say, "Oh, I have one of those." Well, no, you can still have another.
Yeah.
Right. It's slightly
Different texture.
I have to exactly different texture,
Different look.
small, different look,
Yeah.
exactly different fit. I think I'll go back to shoes. We didn't really talk much about that yet,
Right.
but I think so critical to a wardrobe is different color shoes. I think for me, most guys throw on a black pair of shoes and they're like, "Yeah, my dress shoes."
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can have many, but
Yeah.
on top of that, I would say in the non-winter season, I probably almost never wear black shoes.
Oh, wow.
Like majority of the time, I'm wearing either brown shoes, tan shoes, camel shoes, mahogany, like different colors like that. And in the winter, yes, I do have a couple pairs of black shoes that I will wear. But I think it's starting to vary. That helps start to build your outfit.
Absolutely.
Like there was that comment that judge a man by his shoes or whatever that exact comment is. But like you have to, people look at your shoes. So have the right pair of shoes on. And I've probably only recently started dabbling into different shoelace colors. Right.
Nice.
And I know that was a cool thing like for years now. So it's like I'm late to that game, but I was like, okay, like what are the different colors that I want? And because I wear jeans a lot, blue is my go-to.
But see, I don't necessarily think it's like you're like late to the game type of vibe. I think the fact that you're taking, and this goes back to the whole taking the time and effort to really pay attention to your wardrobe and your like components. And I always stress that's so important. Like even when we are going to like events, we actually spend the night before, like talking to each other. What are we wearing? We actually do that, and it's not about matching. It's just about the fact that we both are going to be attending something, and we do not want to look like like a piece of shit, basically. We like want to look good.
I could have swore she told me we couldn't swear on this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be beeped at some point.
Okay.
Not that one. That one immediately doesn't sound right.
But I again, I just like whoever is going to be listening to this, it goes back to, it doesn't matter anymore whether you are like a guy or a girl, whether you're single or whether you are in a relationship.
Right.
You need to take out the time and effort
Of course.
to represent yourself properly.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the one thing you said that triggered the comment that I made earlier said that we'd get back to was around your own sense of style and your personal sense of style versus what's trendy right now, what's in this season. I think, so to me, like 3 years ago, I was like, no, I'm not going to go buy blue laces. That's silly. And then a year later, I was like, oh my God, where do I buy these?
Yeah.
Like, how do
Where
I
get
find these?
Yeah.
So it's coming into it in your own time, right? Some people aren't going to wear a powder blue blazer, but they will be like, okay, maybe I will go get a pair of camel shoes. Maybe I will go get, light blue pants. And it's taking those baby steps or whatever you're comfortable with, right? It has to match you as an individual, right? It's an extension of your personality, right? So if you're not comfortable wearing it, it's going to be obvious actually when you're wearing it. Like, people will be able to tell that you're not comfortable.
That's very, very true.
Right? You want to portray confidence. So whatever you're confident in, and if a lot of people wear all black, but if that's what they feel comfortable in, then good on you. Go with that. Like, I know a guy who has every day 5 black t-shirts.
All black, everything,
it's
all
just
the time.
every day, all day, right? And that's what he's most comfortable with. He doesn't have to think, but he loves it, and he looks good in it, right?
But see, that's a good thing, because style is subjective like that. Like that,
Exactly.
that is a style, and it works for that person,
100%.
right? It works with his personality, probably works with his work, it probably works with his
Exactly
day-to-day, his environment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you'll look at his shoes and you'll be like, oh wow, where'd you get those kicks from? Like,
Right.
So
Right.
he'll vary that, right? Because that's his thing.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So then let's now turn the tables like a little bit, because you've spoken to us about your sense
Do I
of
have
style.
to ask questions?
You've spoken to us about your sense of style and how it has like kind of evolved over the years, like a bit, and you've always been style. So Sagar, why don't you tell why don't you kind of give
I thought Paul was being interviewed.
So Sagar,
So,
yes, so Sagar, why don't
where did you
tell
get
us-
your style from?
Exactly.
I have to just reiterate or sort of echo what you said. To me, it's about a personality and bringing out your personality. I don't think style is one directional. I don't think that, like you have a very different style than I have. Both work, but it doesn't mean that one is better or worse. It's a style. So style to me is subjective, right? So I think that it's important to understand who you are as a person and bring that out through your so you're a smart guy. You're distracting me. Bring that out through your clothes and how you dress. But the environment that you're in and what you're doing and what you're wearing it for obviously has to be, from my perspective, also taken into consideration. Right. And which is why I wanted to have you on the show, because I like the fact that you're able to bring a fresh sort of look to sort of a conservative world, corporate world, right? You bring a fresh look to it, but you're able to do that in a way that's not intimidating or not, over the top, or doesn't, make someone think, well, like, why is this guy even, like, why is he trying to be different? It doesn't come across that way. Right. It comes across as fresh. And that's why I was like, Paul's going to be perfect, because he'll bring that element to the corporate world that we wouldn't get
Right. No, absolutely.
from most other people.
Well, you know where to test your limits, right? And you know where to play, and you
But
know
most
what
people
you're
won't.
comfortable
Most people
with.
won't know. They won't get that.
And they'll go way over the top, or not at all.
Or just go very basic. So that's why I like that you're able to do that. What's some of the things that you would do sort of from a corporate day to evening? I know you said a lot of it's very similar and it bleeds over a little bit.
Yeah.
But what's some of the differences that you find in the way you dress for a daytime corporate versus you're going out in the evening with some business partners, or you're going to a corporate event or something along those lines?
Okay. So evening corporate, I think you can be a little more expressive. So more color, more floral, more paisley, whatever that is for you. And if it's summer, obviously lighter jacket and all that. Like, you can play up all those fun factors, because if it's a more social event, even though it's corporate, you want to show a little more of your personality. Like, I think too many people get stuck in I'm not supposed to bring my whole self to work, right? And I think that's changing. So it even gets easier nowadays, even during the day, to start expressing yourself more. But at night, it's known it's a social event, even though it's corporate. You're allowed to express yourself a little more.
You can still be professional about it.
100%. You want to be professional about it, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's an extension of you and your brand. But you're able to bring more color. You're able to be maybe more fitted. It depends on what your comfort level is and your look is. I would want people to actually do more, right? So I wear pocket square almost all the time, but like little different accessories, I think you can play up at night, right? A lot of people start wearing like different bracelets, like a leather band or something like that. A lot of guys have necklaces now even. Like there's a lot of other components that you can add on to your wardrobe where when you're wearing it into the office, it just seems a little bit weird. But at evening, go nuts, right? This is your time to go out and have a lot more fun. And again, it's going to be what people want to talk about, right? So it's going to be icebreakers, conversation starters. So when you're in those environments, be more comfortable to do that, right? There's not a ton of black tie events that people go to. All the corporate events nowadays, it's like drinks at a bar. It's a lot more casual. Yeah. So you could do a lot more of those things, right? If you're going to a sporting event, fine. There's that balance of you can go extremely casual, right? If you're going to a Jays game, 80% of the people in the crowd are wearing Jays attire,
Jays gear, a t-shirt,
right?
or something.
Exactly. So play that up, right? But you don't have to, right? Like I've been to a Raptors game where I'm still wearing my blazer and my floral shirt, but it will be Raptors colors, right? So you could tie things in any way depending on where that event is.
At what point, if it's even possible, if you think it's possible, is the no-show sock appropriate at work?
That's his favorite thing.
Oh, that's good. So I brought that up right at the beginning, right? So I think it can play, but I think it has to go with the whole outfit, right? Like I don't think it's appropriate when it's just like if everything you're wearing is fitted and you're purposefully you've hemmed your pants that extra half inch or 1 inch up, then yes, you're doing that look, right? And that goes very well. No, you shouldn't be wearing flip-flops to the office, right? And then
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it, right? Like we actually had this conversation just less than a week ago where it was is it okay when people take their shoes off at work? And are socks okay? Are barefoot, is that okay? And for me, that's where it crosses the line. I don't think people should be barefoot in the office. If they have socks on and they really need to take their shoes off and they're sure their socks don't smell and their feet don't stink, then sure, you can.
I think if you're in your office and the door is closed and you want to be comfortable and take your shoes off, not because I do this, but I'm just saying, I think that is okay.
But shoes is okay. When you start going barefoot and you're walking around the office,
no, that's inappropriate. Put your shoes back on when you walk around.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I care about, right? So, if you have an office, the door closes, you do whatever you want inside that door, right? But I think the no sock in the summer with the right outfit, it can play and it works well.
So you also touched really quickly in the middle of that answer about sort of the height of the pant to the ankle.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some of that we're now seeing in the corporate world too, where people are wearing a lot of their pants a little bit higher up?
Yeah, and same with their blazer cuts, right? Higher and higher. I don't go that high. I still want my pant leg to get to my shoe, so that's just my personal style. But to my point, maybe I'm just a couple years behind the game, and next year I'm going to be oh yeah, of course I'm going to hem my pants an extra inch higher, or I'm going to roll that cuff up. But for me, my style and what I like and what I'm comfortable with right now for myself, it is to have my pant that just goes perfectly to my shoe. There's not a lot of break below that, and it's not drowning my shoe. So that's how I feel about it. But I like the style, just not for me personally.
Well, I think it's how it's done. I've seen it many times where if you're just walking around downtown, folks have that, a little bit of the higher cut, but then their pants are also not tapered properly. So it looks like it's just flapping around above their ankle.
Exactly. I don't like that. And I know that's coming back. They're kind of the flare pant. I know a lot of girls are getting back into flares. I think for guys, it looks a little bit weird.
I agree.
But you never know, right? In 3 years, we're all going to be hey.
Could be that's the style.
Right? So if you think about it, styles kind of run in these 20-ish year kind of time frames.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 70s, huge flares and bell bottoms were the thing. They came back in the 90s and the late 90s. We're probably right around that time where flares and bells are going to come back.
It's a possibility. We've seen some, even last year we saw some of it come out in some.
Well, I mean, we're slowly bringing back the whole retro vibes, right? So
Exactly.
Now if you really look at all the styles that we have, there's that element of retro coming in. I think we're still kind of figuring out which era and which decade, but slowly coming back. And like
Yeah.
you start seeing that and like everything. So I'm pretty sure at some point we'll see guys with the bell bottoms,
Right.
flat pants all
And
over again.
it's more with women right now, but guys will come around to it. But then
Absolutely.
it's knowing your style and which fashions you want to jump onto, right? So for me, maybe I'm at an age where I'm not going to go jump after that trend, and I'm just happy with like pants that kind of fit like a little more,
I think
properly.
you could be trendy at 23.
But next year it'll be too late.
Right.
So yeah, you never know, right? Styles will continue to change, and like this year I'm like, no, but I really like this, and in 2 years I won't. So you got to continue to follow.
Right.
But there is, I think a point where right now I think men's flares just don't work.
Not the thing. So I'm going to ask you for one final tip before we sort of close out. On the flip side of the pant being short and above the ankle, please help people think about the break that you mentioned in the pant leg when they have a perfectly gorgeous, for example, tux or even a work outfit, a work suit, but their pants are just flopping all over their shoes.
No, it's terrible. It is terrible, right? It's like if you're going to
Tell me your rule on that with your clothes.
I want minimal break for me. So when I go get my my pants hemmed, I actually want it kind of like on an angle. So it goes a little bit longer on the back and then just kind of right to your shoe on the front. So I want minimal break on the front, but I do want it to kind of have a lip over my shoe on the back, right? Because I don't do the no sock look, and I don't kind of have my pants very tight up on my leg.
Right.
So that's what I would prefer. And you know what? If you're going to go spend, it doesn't even matter. Even if you only spent $100 on that suit, go get it tapered, right? You can go find.
It's the simplest thing.
You could definitely go find someone who will do that for $10, or maybe if there's. No, I won't say what city. There's a part of the GTA you can find it for even cheaper, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's spend that extra money. You spent the money on the outfit. Spend that little bit more to get it tailored,
make it look good.
to make it look perfect.
Because you can literally take a $100 suit off the rack and make it look like a $1,000 suit
100%.
if you know what you're doing with it.
I think I was saying that earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's not about how much you spent anymore. If something fits you, that is the most important thing.
So one last thing. I know I said one last thing, but one last thing. A couple of quick summer tips for guys for wardrobe for this summer, like colors that you like, textures that you like. What are you introducing to your wardrobe for this summer that's different from last summer?
Yikes. I should have had warning for this question.
Absolutely not.
I think summer is the hardest season for guys, right? Because layering is so easy. It makes guys look better, right? So I love spring and fall. So summer, because it's like most guys are just like, oh, have a t-shirt and a pair of shorts on. This is where we don't look as dressed up, right? And this is where girls get upset because in the summer they can look amazing and they have all these summer dresses and all these other crazy outfits.
Yeah.
And
you're
guys,
like, I'm gonna put a floral shirt on. I'm good.
Exactly. But I think that's key, right? It's get away from the t-shirt and shorts, right? Put on a nicer polo with a pattern on it. Put on a short sleeve button-down shirt.
Yeah.
I think those are key.
I think those are so underrated.
Yeah, right. And so I got a lot more different kind of polos. So for this summer, what I just picked up recently, a lot of polos that have, I think for me, I like the designers or styles that spend a little more time and pay a little more attention to detail. So for me, it's like, what is that extra little color around my collar? What is that extra little color down where the buttons are? Oh, wow, they stitched it with a different color thread to hold the buttons in. Like all these small details that seem meaningless, but they make a huge difference.
That's some good advice.
Right. So I say look for these extra little details because it just makes your outfit pop and makes you look that much better.
Awesome. See, that wasn't that bad. You need to really prep for that. You have to go back into the head a little bit just to kind of remember what you bought.
There you go. Exactly.
Awesome. So hey, we got to thank Paul.
Of course. Thank you.
Because that was
Paul,
awesome.
so
That was some
much.
really good tips in there. I think our listeners will be able to use that both corporate, like summer in the evenings at work. Like there's a lot of different good tips that people can use on there.
Awesome. No, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
It was really fun chatting with you.
We're good.
Why are you like staring at me for
this? Because I don't. You usually have a whole bunch of like opinions at the end, so I want to make sure you get your opinions in.
Get that voice in right now.
Get your opinions in there.
I'm just saying.
Here we go. See, I knew she wasn't done.
I agree with your last statement because, very recently a certain someone had a gig and just shows up in this like floral shirt, and I was just like, huh? What just happened there? You're like, you normally dress well for your gigs, and now you just look like...
It was a very pretty floral shirt, I'm just going to say.
You just look like, the guy at the parking lot right now. So, like, what's, like, going on here? So, it's a good thing that you mentioned about the details in the summer. So that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate you ending on that note. So, Paul, again, thank you so much. And this will air if you're watching on on Instagram, Spotify. Sorry, if you're on Spotify or YouTube. Any details about the podcast that you want to get you can go to our Facebook page and grab that there. It's facebook.com/elevatedgrapes, and we'll see you in about a week. So thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Here's to grapes.
Cheers to
Cheers
grapes.
to grapes.
Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind-the-scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.